The last time you played, even thought about Spartan Ops was probably in 2012. And that's not your fault. This mode was abandoned unless you were Halo canon reading Halo Escalation every week. My name is Spencer, and today I wanted to talk about Halo 4's Forgotten Campaign DLC, and why this bizarre creation influenced an entirely different game, and why nobody cares about it anymore. If I could nail down one theme of this mode, it would be structure. The gameplay is structured one way, and the cutscenes are structured in another. In all honesty, I think that's the biggest problem I have with this entire mode. It does not have a unified vision. The cutscenes show us Fireteam Majestic and their struggles throughout Requiem and dealing with a Forerunner artifact and Dr. Halsey and the engines, and in the gameplay you're playing as Fireteam Crimson, a faceless husk for the player doing very meaningless tasks. I feel like this mode should have been purely about Thorn and Majestic because those characters are what we actually get to witness doing boots on the ground combat. Instead, 343 wanted to go the route of player expression, and I feel all it did was harm the mode that had a lot going for it after the opening cutscene established everything.
Spencer, nobody cares about Spartan Ops, bro.
Let me find something to talk about. If there's one thing that Spartan Ops gets right, it's variety. There's 50 missions here, and because of that, it has the volume to really give us every type of Halo encounter we could have ever thought for a Halo campaign. And yes, while a lot of the missions revolve around fighting the Covenant, or the Prometheans, or fighting both, it gives us more options than that, and when they choose to add in more creative stuff, that's when I think this mode shines the brightest. My favorite level is the last one. It starts off as a glorified kill area to press a button, but once you do that, you have to go in and shut off the relic. You're swarmed by knights and crawlers, and when you turn it off, the gravity goes crazy, and you get rushed by camo elites as you run up the top with an energy sword. That's the stuff that I wish Spartan Ops did a lot more. But it felt like the more I played it, the more I realized the cycle of this game. Kill enemies, press a button, kill more enemies, Miller keeps fucking talking to you, kill more enemies, evac, mission over. There's nothing else you could really do with this cycle. And when you compare this to the story of Spartan Ops, this cycle and this story doesn't need to exist, because we have the cutscenes. This story is super simple. The UNSC Infinity goes back to Requiem after the events of Halo 4. They find a Forerunner artifact that communicates with the engines and the Infinity, which makes them stuck orbiting the planet. They call in Halsey to fix them. The Covenant and the Prometheans team up to capture Halsey in a pretty sweet scene, I may add. And it all ends with the UNSC Infinity getting the fuck out of Dodge. If you were to remember one thing from this story, it would be Joel Mandama, the leader of the New Covenant. He's pretty good here, no lie, we don't really have that much to go off of, but in terms of setting up a big bad who does kind of end up winning at the end of this story, I'd say that's a pretty good character. And he's called the Didact's Hand. That's some shit out of Destiny, so you know it goes hard. The original story of Halo 4 didn't really focus on the New Covenant at all. And at least here, we get a good amount of material to figure out what at least the motives of this faction are, to separate them from the Covenant of old. Even if the entire plotline was abandoned in literally the first mission of the next game, Halo 5, you did it again! I can't believe it. One of the biggest downsides that this mode suffers from is the lack of unique environments. From the first mission, you're just playing part of the Halo 4 campaign mission Reclaimer backwards. You also play all parts of Requiem and the multiplayer and remake of Valhalla. There's examples like these throughout the 50 missions. But the strangest part is that they reuse the exact same assets and maps, but contort them to look different, or they put you and spawn you in a different area with different enemies. They really get everything out of this game. They squeeze as much as they can out of the base assets. I think Spartan Ops has a good argument for being up there in terms of getting the most out of your game on the 360. But surprisingly, that actually gets fixed, and not entirely, but Spartan Ops did actually receive DLC. Chapters 6 through 10 were not content you could play day one, instead added later on, and these locations are so much better because they're unique to Spartan Ops. Maybe not each chapter, because they still recycle all of these areas at least once, but you can't deny how beautiful these locations look on the Halo 4 engine. When I think about the legacy of Spartan Ops, my brain immediately goes to Brian Reed, the story director behind this mode. 343 was so confident in this Spartan story that they promoted Brian to lead writer of the next game, Halo 5. And that one decision, I believe, doomed whatever story setup they could have done. Because regardless of what medium, whenever you bring in somebody who's told a story in that universe, they're going to try as hard as they can to fit what they were doing into the plot. And the idea of an ensemble cast, a Fireteam Osiris, not focusing on the Master Chief, kinda all started right here in Spartan Ops. The faces may be different, but the methods are the same, and there was a reason Brian Reed got the axe way before anybody else in the leadership group at 343. Spartan Ops' legacy is Halo 5. That second season of Spartan Ops is with Fireteam Osiris. They corrected the mistakes of the first season side mode in an actual campaign, and because of that, they lost a lot of what Halo 4 had going for it. And this game gave us a lot of good character. Lasky shines in this story more than ever, and I think Palmer is actually really well done here, surprisingly, and she commands much more authority than she did in her few appearances in the actual campaign. And while the rest of Majestic are just kind of lame, Thorn is the epitome of what a Spartan 4 should be. And if anybody was to appear in Halo 5 or Halo Infinite or any other game later down the line, it should have been him. Because we actually got to learn about this character, and we actually got to see him earn the respect amongst the other people in the cast, and maybe even the player. I mean, having Halsey call you close to a Spartan 2 is pretty good. Whether you liked, disliked, or never even played Spartan Ops, that doesn't really matter. Regardless of what you think, I think that we can all agree that this is the most unique Halo has ever gotten. It stretched as much content out of the Xbox 360 disk space as much as humanly possible, and reused as much as it could to at least give us another Halo story. In the grand scheme, this entire thing can be skipped, and you can just watch the cutscenes on YouTube, and not worry about the shooting gallery, yeah, but we all experience Halo differently. And if you want to go that extra bit of Miller, or Dalton, or Palmer talking over and over and over again, be my guest, because you're allowed to enjoy what you play. Will I play Spartan Ops again? Maybe. If I can remember it's in the firefight menu for some reason on the MCC and not campaigns. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy what I do, maybe consider checking out some of my other stuff. Thank you so much.